what I'm wondering, are we going to be moving to the next level where it's like we're trying to make games out of Little Big Planet that don't even involve Sackboy because now we can do whatever we want. Why would we even want to use Sackboy?
Right. You can't ever really get away from the classic side-scroller just because so many truly successful games are that format.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, I mean, it's been done. It's been done for how many million levels are there out there now?
Yeah.
As opposed to, okay, well, I'm gonna make a Pong level, like an 8-bit like Pong level, where it actually plays like the old original Pong from the 70s. How many of those are there out there? Well, there's a lot fewer than there are side-scrollers. So my chances of getting recognized and rated higher are much better than if I make something that there's already 1.5 million of.
Yeah.
So I think that it's going to be a case of kind of filling in the gaps, and so there will be a time when people are going to do more of that, and then I think it'll level out eventually.
Okay, so you believe that right now there's not actually much of a want for, like, I don't know, specialized Little Big Planet 2 versions of, like, Little Big Planet 1 style levels.
Well, I don't think there are, because I know there's a lot of people that as soon as Little Big Planet 2 was announced, they say, oh, well, I'm going to hold off my next creation until it's released because of, whatever, because I can do this now. I can do jump ahead. I can do, hollow material. I can do whatever I want to do. So I do think that there is going to be a divergence from side-scrollers. But then again, that's going to raise the demand for a good side-scroller. And after a certain amount of time, people are going to say, wait a minute, have we forgotten about this? And then there's people like Velcro Jones that we just talked about. That's his style, right? And I think he's going to. You gravitate to what you know, and I think that the people that are good at that style of level are going to continue making that style of level.
I guess my problem kind of with the whole concept behind Little Big Planet 2 is that, like, if I want to make something like Pong or like a corridor shooter, why the heck am I not just programming it on the computer at that point? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
The tools are out there. I can do it. Why am I going to, like, use a game where you can kind of do it but the game's actually made to be a side-scroller? So I guess that's kind of... I mean, I'm going to get Little Big Planet 2, but that's kind of like where I'm stuck right now. It's like, am I going to get on there and all that people are going to be doing is making, like, kind of dumbed-down versions of what I can make on my computer, like, as a real game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question, right? And I think it's really that the value of Little Big Planet is that it lifts the barrier, that you don't need to know a programming language. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that I'm really convinced would be very talented at making games that don't have the patience for or think they wouldn't be good at something like writing code, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if they really got into it, they'd realize that they were actually quite talented at it. It's just, you know how it is. Like in school, nobody wanted to go to the computer science class because that's where all the nerds were. But now they're like, they're in whatever other career they're in, for those that already have a career. And this is a good outlet for, hey, this is something, like for me, this is not on my career path, but this is a great outlet for me and the ideas that that I've had that I've never had any other way of creating. And then for people that do know how to program, like I know that you know your stuff, that I think this is a good prototyping platform. That's the other thing people are saying. It's good for playing out your ideas quickly, and then okay, I like it except for this limitation, and then you can go and code it and do it, quote unquote, the right way.
That's an interesting way to think of it. It's just, I imagine, like you were saying, Pong, and I actually see a lot of people trying to, like, remake other games, and it just, I don't know, that type of thing doesn't even interest me. Like, it could be cool, like, wow, how did you do that with Little Big Planet? Like, I mean, that's going to be what I'm going to think when I start playing these levels. But the next thought is going to be like, this isn't even really that fun, and people are just going gaga because they're not sure how you did it. I think that's going to be a lot of what's going to happen. And I think it's going to go on for a while after Little Big Planet 2 comes out. Is the highest rated levels, or levels that are going to get noticed, are going to be levels that are kind of like meh, but everyone's going to be going crazy because, like, how do they do this? How do they do this? Because there's so much stuff you can do.
Oh, yeah, just like the Little Big Calculator in LBP1.
Exactly. It's like, I don't even care about that, but it's cool. Yeah, wow, that guy, I mean, sure. That's awesome, but I don't really care. I didn't buy the game to see that. I want to play something fun, and I'm a little worried that, Little Big Planet 2, while it has, like, all this different stuff you can do, it is tailored to make, the side-scroll. Like, the best graphics and stuff are probably going to come out. They are going to come out when you're actually using stuff like that.
Right.
And I don't know. I worry. I'm sure there's going to always be awesome levels, but it's just, I worry that there's going to be even more of an issue with trends than there ever was before, and that's gonna. I mean, the trending issue got worse. It seemed like it was getting worse and worse, and I mean, it was terrible when I left for China, and I never really got back into the original Little Big Planet when I got back.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just seemed like it was getting worse and worse. I'm kind of fearful of what could happen.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing that really kind of, I spent a period of time kind of out of LBP as a whole, kind of during the summer of, I guess it was 2009, before I got back into it and LBP PSP came around, is the 3D layer glitch of all things.
Yeah.
To me, it was just, I don't have the capacity to want to sit and make my own 3D background.
Mm-hmm.
The glitch is a pain. I didn't feel like learning it. I didn't feel like learning a new skill just to compete with the new level of standard. You kind of felt like all I can do is make a quote-unquote normal level. I just can't compete anymore.
And I think that's exactly where I'm going with this. And that's like the perfect point. I mean, I don't think I was ever going to wrap back around to that, but that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited about trying out new mechanics using what I'm supposed to use, but I'm worried. I mean, as we get so many more tools thrown at us, so many other like little things are going to be figured out of how you do this with gravity changes or this with who knows what material changes. And I mean, it's like it's going to take all of my time to stay up with this. And if that's what's required for people to care about my levels, then I mean, how am I possibly going to be able to do that? Because this isn't my job.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this, and this actually. You know what? I think we can use this as a segue into our next section, which is create tips. We're just segue fantastic today, aren't
we? You think we actually planned this?
Well, almost like we planned it, but of course, everybody who's listening knows that we actually have no plan whatsoever. So, how do you go about creating a level? And let's say, how do you go about creating a level in Little Big Planet 2? And for me, there's so much that you could possibly do, like you said, keeping up on all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Little Big Planet 1, I feel like I kind of pretty much could do anything I wanted. Little Big Planet PSP, I feel like I could do anything I wanted. Little Big Planet 2, I think I'm officially over my head. I officially think there's no way I could do one of any kind of thing that could be created in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that, okay, fine, I can't encompass the entire world of possibilities. So I'll pick a focus and I'll just stick with what I think I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, it's kind of daunting. Where do you begin? What do you start on first? And it's just, okay, I'll tell you what. I make movie spoofs, so I'll start there. And maybe I'll just keep doing that. and I think that it's people that make mini games or people that find out they have fun with lighting. Like Morgana, she's like her thing is lighting. And she really likes the holographic material and the lighting and stuff. So she's focuses on more of the visuals, and she teams up with people that are really into the logic, like RTM223 and Compra MC, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll collaborate. So I think it's more like, say, the real world of video game creating, where you have somebody whose skill is, okay, here's somebody who can code, okay, and now you have somebody who can't code worth a darn but is a really good artist. And now you've got somebody who can do neither of those things but can write a story. And you combine them all, and then you'll have a good level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just picking your focus and going on it is how you can begin to create anything.
So do you think you'll be working in teams from now on then? Or do you think are you going to be trying to make a level on your own, or what's your plan?
I think that I'm probably going to make a level that will make me happy,
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be, basically, as far as the community is concerned, not up to snuff, but it's going to be a for me kind of a level. And then I do think there's also going to be some collaboration, probably. It's like we're doing on the PSP Kindred project, right? You get people who can build and people who can write and people who can sticker, and you kind of stick.
Yeah, it'll be a heck of a lot easier on Little Big Planet 2, though.
Yes, it will. I mean, it would be great if somebody was building a level and said, hey, I can do the logic, and I've got somebody else making, pretty lighted stuff for me. Can you come up with a funny story because we don't know what the level's about? I would love it. I would be all over that. And I would help come up with characters and write the dialogue, and it would be great. I would love it. Of course, I know some people hate that stuff.
Have you worked with anybody on a level on the original Little Big Planet?
No, I haven't, actually.
All right. Yeah, I did one in the beta. That's how I got my Bug Blaster that I don't actually have. But in the beta, I worked with a group from Little Big Land, which was Bloodhound, Tin Cup 70, and Meniska. And my gosh, Maniska and I would just we just were fighting the whole time. I mean, we're friends. It's not like we're mad at each other, but my gosh, it's just we had two ways about going about the tech, and it was not pretty because he loved to do random things. I can still remember for some kind of switch he was doing, he was just emitting an object. This is back. He's gotten a lot better. He's an amazing creator now. He was good back then, but he was like shooting out an emitting object, and like his way of like making it random was just this emitted object would just fly all over the place because you had something rotating and shooting the emitted object out, and like it would just randomly pass by something to set the switch off. Nice. But there was nothing to guarantee it would ever happen. And oh my gosh, it just drove me crazy. I mean, I needed to have certainty somewhere. And we just fought and fought and fought. It was great because the Bloodhound and Tin Cup would come over. They'd be like, oh, they're fighting again. And they'd fly over and just watch us fight. Because we all had keyboards, so there was no like voice. So they could just see our text coming up or we just started arguing about something. Oh, it was great.
Like, no, why are you doing it that way? That's going to interfere with this other thing.
Yeah, going in and like changing each other's tech when the other person isn't there. So I guess it's really important that you have people that you trust and maybe only have one guy for logic.
Yeah, that kind of seems to be the way that things go. And I think that's probably even more true with artistry, because the people that have a vision, if it's not how they see it, it's just not gonna come out right. Mm-hmm. Like I think it would be a lot of fun. I mean, we're getting closer to like actually making a video game, right? I'd love to just kind of be free of having to figure out how do I make platforming here? What am I supposed to do to make this pretty? I can figure the tech out, but I'd rather spend the time on making a goofy character or something random or some stupid. I'll spend half an hour on wording something just the right way.
And see, I'm completely the opposite. I really hate the artist stuff because I just can't do it, and I love the tech stuff. But then my levels end up. I mean, my whole LittleBigPlanet series, all I ever got was, it's fun, but the levels look like crap. Like, it's cool what you're doing, and I understand that it kind of has to look like crap because you're using so much tech to make other stuff happen. It's taking that thermo up, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't all that. I mean, it really was partially that I just sucked with the art.
Yeah, I guess the way to wrap this section up is that we each have our strengths, and the real trick is to play off your strengths, try to grow in something that you're not comfortable with. But when it comes right down to it, the way to do that is to team up with somebody else and learn from them. Mm-hmm. That's the way of the future, I think, for LittleBigPlanet too. Moving on to our general gaming section, and for this one we picked Nintendo. So all the things that they have done.
I played a bunch of Nintendo at friends' houses. I remember the Ninja Turtle games, and I think the game that I remember most is probably Castlevania 3, which I didn't actually play much, but my gosh, I was just, like, amazed by that game, just watching it back when it came out. So that's probably my biggest memory of the original Nintendo, and just wishing that I had one.
Right.
And then I guess I'll go on to Super Nintendo since you didn't have a Nintendo. Now, did you play Super Nintendo at all?
I did. I had a friend with a Super Nintendo. I don't remember specifically. Was Ghosts and Goblins on that platform? Because we did play that.
I believe that was on. I think Super Ghosts and Goblins was a Super Nintendo, and Ghosts and Goblins was original Nintendo.
Yeah, I think I played Super Ghosts and Goblins then. So that's my memory from that one. Good game. I enjoyed that one.
Those games are hardcore, right? Like,
they are.
Painfully not fun because they're so hard.
Well, you know what? They follow the format of arcade-style games, which are designed to kill you in 45 seconds. So you put another quarter in. Mm-hmm.
So I remember, I think my favorite memory of the Super Nintendo is probably getting it and just playing Super Mario World for the first time. Because, oh man, that was just plain awesome.
Never played Super Mario World.
Oh man, that's one of the best games. But my favorite thing about the Super Nintendo is probably just the RPGs, because that's when I started getting into like Final Fantasy III and Chrono Trigger, which is my favorite game of all time. And just finally like seeing the scope of those games, the story, like actually getting into it. It's kind of unbelievable if you didn't grow up with that system to understand how you could get like emotionally moved by a game that's like an overhead game with sprites. But I mean, back then that's what we had. And, it was so amazing because you just kind of used your imagination more. And yeah, I just love that. I still think the best games are on the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, no, Chrono Trigger is one of the all-time classics. A couple of my friends were really into that, and it's funny. At that point in time, I really wasn't into RPGs.